get closer to football season because on the weekends we've got Joe Bucs fan. We've got all this great stuff happening around specifically football, and we're gearing up for football. And a lot in store for you, by the way, the listener. We'll keep you in touch with that and up to date on that as that information comes along. But very interested to see this year some of the storylines because this team, to me, is this Bucs team is vastly improved. They've looked at what they needed to improve, specific areas on the defense, getting after the quarterback, right? Linebackers, they have really addressed their needs this offseason. First in free agency, not to a strong degree, but really filled that in the draft, which I expected Jason Light to do. But when it comes to the all-time Buccaneer greats, Rondé Barber, you know who they are, Derek Brooks, Mike Allstott, what do they have to say when it comes to the big decision of the offseason, which wasn't who the Bucs got it's who left. And that was Mike Evans. And that was devastating for so many of us as I've watched Mike's entire career. As my career has gone on here in Tampa Bay, I've witnessed Mike getting drafted, Jason Light's first ever draft pick, and to go on to have a Hall of Fame career with the Buccaneers, one of the best ever from a receiver. And when he decides to leave, and when you find out the Buccaneers actually offered Evans more money to stay, but Mike Evans said afterwards that money was not the biggest factor, and he felt like the 49ers could give him a second win of his career. And that cuts even deeper, I think, for Bucs fans, that he didn't believe in what was happening here. He had grown tired, if you will, of what he had witnessed year in and year out after the Super Bowl of having some success but falling off. And last year, I think, was the last straw of just completely falling off the map, not making the playoffs. So I'm interested to hear what some of the guys like Rondé and Derek and Mike, who spent their entire careers with the Buccaneers, what they thought of Mike Evans' departure. And here we'll start with Rondé Barber.
I know neither one of them were, but I was close. Yeah. I was close once. M1KE made me a free agent and said, go test the market. So I did. And I ended up back in Tampa because the market wasn't speaking to me. But no, I think we could all answer this the same way. And it's unfortunate that Mike made a decision to go there because we all have a lot invested in the emotional bank account of the city, of the team, of our ownership. The Glazers are great. They would have been great to Mike if he would have stayed here. But he made a family decision, and that's the right decision for him. I knew personally, since you're asking this question about having an opportunity to leave, I was never leaving here. I like what this town has given me, and I never want this town to feel like I wasn't part of that. Now, that happens to a lot of players. Happened to some of our best teammates. Yes. But for me, personally, I had the opportunity to stay. I was never going to leave.
He was never going to leave. Rondé was never going to leave. Now, whether you believe that or not, I tend to believe Rondé. You know, it's a lot easier when you're this far removed from it to go, I was never leaving. Now, if you go back to that offseason, you go back to some of those, you never know how a player's feeling in that moment, in that time, and their emotion, which could be running high. You don't feel like the team's treating you with the respect you should be getting, you're not happy. Then you look elsewhere and you realize, well, maybe they were giving me exactly what my market value is. It's a business. So I find that interesting from Rondé because it makes me think, did Mike abandon us? Does it feel like that? Because a lot of Bucs fans when Mike left, they were happy for Mike. I saw that. I saw that from a lot of Bucs fans. Hey, good for Mike. They're happy. Now, a lot of Bucs fans were not happy with Mike's decision, especially when you find out the Bucs offered more money. And then when you hear Rondé talk about it, like, I was never leaving. I was part of this city. Mike was a part of this city, and I think eventually we will forgive Mike, and Mike will be fine. But it is an interesting wrinkle for me going into the season of how fans view Mike, how we watch Mike, how we digest the 49ers, and how we view him as we digest that. Here's Derek Brooks and his opinion on Mike Evans' departure.
And again, I totally understand it. But at the same time, he's going to an organization of a great friend of ours. Sure. You know, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. You know, so again, there's some solace in that for me, knowing, you know, John's going to appreciate everything that, you know, Mike has done, but obviously putting him in the best position to be successful, Kyle is, in what they're asking him to do. So I just want to see him succeed. He's going to always be a Buccaneer to me, and as Rondé said, he made the right decision when it comes to, his career for his family, and I'm proud of that for him.
I'm shocked that Derek would go, and they would go as far to say he made the right decision for his family. I don't know if it's the right decision. He made a decision for his family. I don't know if anybody can decide now or I guess even later, except for Mike and his family, if it was the right decision. Even Mike doesn't know right now if it's the right decision. You just don't know until you know, right? He could look down 2 years later and go, man, I mean, imagine the Bucs win a Super Bowl in the next year or two. And Mike goes, and San Francisco doesn't have the success that they've had. And he said, you think he's going to look in and go, this is what was best for me and my family?
I think for his family, though, if you want to look at it that way, it could, even if the Niners didn't win a game, which is not going to happen, but hypothetically, if his wife and kids really wanted to move to California or they wanted to live in San Francisco, and he's won a Super Bowl, right? He's in the Hall of Fame. We all know these things. So when you look at it from the family perspective, I think maybe you look at that and you say, this is what they wanted, so that's what's best for us as a family.
How old, like, you think his kids were like, I want to go to San Francisco. I want to live in California.
Wife, more so his wife, but
that's quite a whim to go, I want to live in California. Okay, good for you. All this money that I make and this community that we've built around us here? Yeah, I got 1 or 2 years left. So how about we just finish it off and then we can move to California? Like, if you love California so much, 1 or 2 years, California ain't going anywhere. Well, maybe. I don't know.
I was going to say
politics, but I mean, 1 or 2 years, you can retire as a Buck and go. So I'm not buying that. And I think Derek Brooks is one of the nicest guys on the planet. So he's playing nice guy. And for me, I don't get any. Now Derek knows these guys. I don't get any solace in him going to play for Shanahan, or as much as I love John Lynch. Like, John Lynch is now the enemy, right? We love John Lynch, but when he's running another organization, for now, he's the enemy. 888-388-0957. Be interested to hear your thoughts on this, because I want to know if you will eventually accept Mike's decision to leave. Have you already done it? Because it seems like Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber, and Mike Allstott, they've all accepted it. Here's the A-Train.
Everybody will forget it when he's announced in the Hall of Fame as a Buccaneer. So, I mean, it's all said and done. Nobody's going to remember these next 3 years and stuff like that. They all done it. All the greats have done it. Montana, and they all done it. You know what I mean? So, again, Mike Evans is he's a Buck for life, and he's a legend here. And so, again, we just got to respect his decision.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You got to respect his decision. He's a Buck for life. I agree with Allstott on what he said. But I think fans can still be bitter at the moment. Let's go to Glenn in Zephyr Hills real quick. What's up, Glenn?
All right, man. How you doing?
Doing well. What's on your mind?
Good. Love the show.
Thank you.
Hey, I got one question. Did I maybe miss it, or did Mike Evans never give a press conference to the fans of the Buccaneers?
He put out a statement. He put out a statement, Glenn, from his foundation, but there was not anything specific as far as a press conference. No.
He kind of joined in with what his wife said, right?
Correct. There was some Instagram stuff, there was social media stuff, but nothing directly, specifically for Bucs fans. No.
I don't know the guy's name, but the guy who left Cincinnati, the defensive player who left Cincinnati this year, and Cincinnati has sucked, and he still did a very eloquent press conference to the fans of Cincinnati.
You're talking about Trey Hendrickson? Yeah.
He brought a press conference right to the fans of Cincinnati.
Yeah, and who do you think had a better career with their team, Trey Hendrickson or Mike Evans? Mike Evans is one who's been with his team his entire career. There's a difference right there.
Exactly.
Hey, Glenn, good call. Good. Yeah, listen, I get it. And this is Glenn. I think a lot of fans feel this way. A little upset by this.